Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. Hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about the Detroit Tigers. Yes, the Detroit Tigers. It's just a favorite subject here. One of the more boring teams in the history of baseball is the Detroit Tigers. Not to be mean to any Tiger fans, but that's just how it is. But they've actually played really well over the last month and a half, and they've gotten themselves a position to win that third wild card. I'm going to talk about in this how they've done it. This is from USA Today. How red-hot Detroit Tigers landed an MLB playoff perch. No pressure, no fear. Now, they've had two things happen to them. Two teams that completely collapsed to put them in this position. One, the Baltimore Orioles have kind of collapsed, but they've not nearly collapsed as badly as the Minnesota Twins. The Twins completely fell apart. Also, there's a little news here. Just a little while ago, the Tigers have called up Jackson Jobe, their best pitching prospect. I guess to have him pitch in one of the games in the next 6 days. Okay, here's the article. Matt Verlin hasn't been around that long, but he has seen some things. At 28, he qualifies as the current elder of the Detroit Tigers lineup. He knows that after 156 games, there's little sense in letting the mind wander too much when so much remains at stake in the final six. Yet he also knows that what these Tigers are doing is so rare, so surprising, so much fun that yes, he can't help but go there to October and the potential of a startling playoff appearance for a club that hasn't had even a winning record in 8 years. Now this charge to postseason is very reminiscent of the 87 Tigers. Because the 87 Tigers were behind in the last week, and they were able to overcome the 87 Blue Jays. And it got them to postseason, which it was spearheaded by this trade that the Tigers made with the Braves, where they picked up Doyle Alexander for future Hall of Famer John Smoltz. People have destroyed that over the last few weeks, I've noticed, saying that was a terrible trade, but it got the Tigers to postseason. So it wasn't a complete loss at all for the Tigers. Quote, I have thought about that, how much fun it would be to get there with this team. Verlin, the club's left fielder and cleanup hitter, tells USA Today Sports. I tried to suppress those thoughts a little bit to focus on the day-to-day. That's what makes this team great. Now, I would mention, they're making the kind of run that the Diamondbacks made last year. They just came out of nowhere. Quote, but I've thought about it. I've been in that spot where you're having a great time and celebrating all the hard work. It'd be pretty incredible to do that. Okay? With each passing day, the likelihood only seems to increase. The Tigers have stunningly reached the final week of the regular season in playoff position, thanks to a raucous road trip in which they won 5 out of 6 games against fellow postseason inhabitants Kansas City and Baltimore. Kansas City has not played well either. Get this, they are 27-11 since August 11th, the best record in the majors in that span, during which they also had the best ERA of 2.74. Now, a couple of things. The Mets played the Tigers early in the season. They didn't look that bad, but it's hard to tell from April how a team is. And they beat the Mets 2 out of 3. They had 30-18 since trading number 2 starter Jack Flaherty to the LA Dodgers. A nominal waving of the white flag that reduced their stable of starting pitchers to 2. Since then, there's been a wave of bullpen games and bulk guys induced with 20-ish home run pop going yard at opportune times and young players. So many young players taking advantage steps forward. Quote, it wasn't ideal trading Jack, says Tigers closer Jason Foley of the deal swung just minutes before the July 30th trade deadline. When the Tigers were 52-56, you don't want to be sellers at the deadline. It means you're obviously not in an opportune spot to make the postseason. But you still have to go out and perform and win each game, each night, and win each day. You start stacking some good games together, stacking some good weeks, stacking a couple good months. Next thing you know, we find ourselves in a pretty decent spot to make a postseason push. And now they're going home. After improving to 82-74, so they have a winning season, the best record since winning 86 in 2016. They roused a 43 win before 44,040 at Camden Yards. The Tigers finished the season with 6 games at Comerica Park. Tuesday, presumed Cy Young Award winner Tariq Skubal opens a 3-game set against the Tampa Bay Rays. While their margins for errors Rays are thin, they're 1 game ahead of the Minnesota Twins for the final wildcard spot. They hold the 2024 equivalent of a golden ticket. The final 3 games are against the 120-loss, historically terrible Chicago White Sox. And recent history suggests that they're not just a live dog, but also a potentially dangerous one. They're a dead dog. Sorry. The White Sox are terrible. As a side note about the White Sox having tied the 62 Mets, the White Sox do not have any current Hall of Famers on that team. The 62 Mets had 2 Hall of Famers, 2 future Hall of Famers playing for them, in Gil Hodges and Richie Ashburn. And those guys were great players. There were a few very good players on that team. Roger Cray was a good pitcher, and I would mention they had a Hall of Fame match, although he was 100 years old. So that's really the difference between that 62 Mets and the 2024 White Sox. A.J. Hinch, the manager, knows of Penn-and-Dry's October drama. He managed the Houston Astros to 2 AL pennants and the 2017 World Series title before the club's sign-stealing scheme resulted in his firing. Now his 4th year of managing the Tigers, Hinch presided over clubs that won 77, 66, and 78 games in his first 3 seasons. In short, a handful of decent prospects marinating around $140 million infielder Javi Baez, an offensive bust in his 3 seasons with Detroit, before departing August 23rd for season-ending hip surgery. Not to say anything negative about Javi Baez, he could be a bit of a cancer. He could be a bit of a negative influence in the clubhouse. We saw that in 2021 with the Mets. They did not play well when he was with the Mets either, by the way. And if he's not playing well, and he's not surrounded by a bunch of very strong veterans, he's going to run that clubhouse. And that probably did not help over the last 2 years. Yet, despite an everyday lineup featuring 3 rookies and a second-year player, Hinch has seen enough. These guys are ready for the final lap. This week is really no different than the last 6 weeks have been for us. Been in all hands-on-deck mode, grind mode, playoff mode, whatever you want to say, for a long time. Says Hinch, whose club went into Kansas City, swept the Royals last week, dragging them from a solid purchase to number 2 wild card into the quagmire in the muck with the Tigers. Now, we're going to see what happens. This team has a really good chance to get the postseason now. They put themselves in good position. All they got to do is play well in the next 2 series, and they'll take the series they're going to be playing this week, and then just sweep the White Sox, and they'll be there. And they will be dangerous because they'll be a hot team going into postseason. And they could be very much like what happened with the Diamondbacks last year. They just sort of came out of nowhere and just played well when they needed to play well, and it took them to the World Series. And they're an underdog, and they've won a lot of games late. A lot of games late on the road, and they've played very well. So, let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 2, and I'll see you later.